Roland, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Let's head inside and have a good little chat. I watched an interview with you earlier today. You're a very dynamic character. That expression right there says it all. The interviewer asked you a very direct question at the beginning. He said, "Is America racist?" And your response was,
yes. And it's getting worse with time.
And why is that?
The dynamics have changed. Politicians now are concentrating on retaining power. And in order to retain power, you have to suppress a group of people, in this case, blacks and Hispanics. So you coming up with all sort of suppressive tactics in order to dilute the vote. Why? Because white people, as we progress, are becoming less and less influential in terms of numbers. So the demographics are not helping white people. So they want to ensure that there is a system to protect them as they become less and less influential. That's the reason for the appointment of judges, the suppression of voting access. Even the police has played a role in terms of this suppressive action that is permeating throughout the United States. So minorities do not feel comfortable in this nation. But at the same time, if we want to change things, we have to go through the democratic process, which is to vote. But you're being denied that access. So the alternative is what? Should we continue burning down buildings in order to get attention so legislation can be enacted to help us? I don't approve of violence, but you are creating the right conditions for people to feel desperate and engage in that type of violence. So it is shameful because we no longer are a democracy.
Yeah, I heard you say early on, fake democracy. It's fake democracy.
But we market the concept of democracy very well, but we're not.
Has it happened in your lifetime, or was it there before? I mean,
well, look at the history of the United States. This was the building of this nation was based on the suppression of other people. Enslavement, the Removal Act by Andrew Jackson and others to just remove the Native Americans, keep sending them away, stealing their land, playing around with negotiations, etc., fooling people, engaging in genocide, because when you have the trail of tears and people are dying and people keep dying, etc., so the Native Americans, who were the first nation to inhabit this nation, disappeared. And people didn't feel guilty. Andrew Jackson didn't give a damn about Native Americans. And I resent the fact of my people, the Buffalo Soldiers, engaging in that extermination process. But you have some groups that look up to them, but I don't.
Roland is a founding member of several Washington, D.C. community organizations that address the needs of minority groups, especially afro-Latinos. He also has served as a consultant to the U.S. State Department and conducted leadership training programs in Brazil, Colombia, and Honduras.
That afro-Latino experience, does that give you a different perspective? Do you see prejudice on two different levels? I mean, describe for me what that experience is like.
Look, I catch hell from white people Hispanics, some blacks, even some Asians look at me funny. So I catch it from all angles because Latinos look at me and they say they are surprised that I speak Spanish and that I speak it well. Why? Because Latino media has not been fair in the inclusion of Afro-Latinos in their programs. We are highlighted in 3 areas: sports, singing, and dancing. So my position is this, that all Spanish-speaking countries have manifested a high level of racism that still continues. So I bring a different perspective to the mix because as an Afro-Latino, I understand the dynamics of black people, but I also understand the dynamics of my Latino people. And some say that we could play a sort of a bridge to bring both groups together. But I have been also discriminated by blacks. Not too far from here, I used to attend Federal City College, and some of my black brothers said, "Roebuck, you are not 100% black." And I said, wow, that's very interesting. And they said, why? Why I am not 100% black? He said, because you speak that Mexican stuff, which also demonstrate that the educational system has failed to educate my people with respect to the movement of slave ships throughout the Caribbean, Central and South America. The slave ships stopped in different zip codes. And as a result of that, we speak various languages. We speak Portuguese, we speak Spanish, and French, Haiti, Creole, etc. But our educational system has failed in presenting clearly that movement of slave ships throughout our history.
For a time, we didn't see a lot of biracial kids floating around. I think there's a lot more today. We did have a biracial president of the United States, Barack Obama, and recently, not too long ago, there was this bit of controversy. I'm sure you heard about it. ESPN anchor Sage Steele, who really kind of took exception to the fact that Barack Obama identifies as a black. She said, you know, if it was me and I was told I had to choose a race, what are you going to put? She said, well, I'd say both, African-American and Irish-Italian. Have you ever felt like you were pulled in one direction or another? And what do you make of this controversy about this?
When I was in Denmark, I came up with a term called Afro-Viking, okay? But it was just for fun. Here in the United States, racism is very scientific and precise. You either black or white. Obama obviously has to identify himself as black based on how he looks. Attempting to include white DNA in the mix would put him in a situation of being sort of a part-time black, and it will not enhance his resume. So here in the United States, the racial definition is very, very strict. Whereas in Central America, in Brazil, and other countries in this hemisphere, you have a variety of terms to describe race. For example, Brazil has more than 100 categories to describe race. In the Dominican Republic, the texture of hair, your complexion, will determine whether or not you can identify yourself as Indian or black. Because in the Dominican Republic, the only black people are the Haitians. The Dominicanos, they wish to consider themselves Indians. And I usually say that there are more Indians in the Dominican Republic now than when Columbus arrived. Okay? So people in Central and South America enjoy certain flexibility with respect to how they identify themselves. So you could be white in South America, but when you come to the United States, you are going to be placed with other minorities. So this could shock the individual who has been living this white fantasy in, let's say, Argentina, and when you come here, you are treated with disrespect based on your accent, your job, etc. So we, as a matter of fact, we don't even call ourselves Americans. Within our circle, American is for white people. We call ourselves either black, Afro-American, or afro-descendant. This nonsense about, oh yeah, I'm American. No. You have to identify yourself racially because we are operating in a very racist country.
Roland, I was talking to you before the interview, and you mentioned one word, and I want you to talk about it because you said it's a really important thing, upbringing. Talk to us about yours.
Well, in my particular case, my mom was very influential in the development of my personality. Although we were being raised in a, I would say, racist environment, she always emphasized my greatness. She always emphasized my greatness in terms of not limiting myself, challenging the world, and that I was the best of the best. Now, the continuum in terms of mother, father, creating a very sustainable value system allowed me to be who I am today. Because when I graduated from high school, my counselor said to me, oh, you should go to vocational school and become a barber. White kids were being sent to the university, we were being sent to vocational school. So when I went to the barbershop division, a tall black guy, Puerto Rican, said, let me look at your hands. So I did like that. And he said, you will never be a good barber. You got to continue studying. So I went to my mom and I said, look, the people say that I will never be a good barber. She said, I knew that. I just wanted you to go through that exercise because I know that through education, you will be able to become the best of the best. So that's where I am today.
Roland, we began with the question, and I'm going to end with a similar question. The question was, is America racist? Clearly, America doesn't have sole ownership of racism. You've traveled all around the world.
And I
give us your scorecard.
Well, I don't want to be pessimistic, but at the rate we are going, the outlook does not look hopeful. So what you're going to have is a situation in which people are going to revert back to the civil rights movement of the 60s and demand accountability from our congressional representatives. Because you have to understand that our Congress, their commitment is the perpetuation of power. They want to be in Congress for 200 years. they are not interested in the electorate. They are interested in the lobbyists that are on K Street that take these guys to lunch every day in order to give them some bijuju and at the same time advance the interests of that particular lobby firm. And I don't understand how our electorate is not aware of that, because media sometimes is in collusion with the congressional leaders to distort this political landscape. So going back to the question, it does not look good. But laws need to be changed, especially in the area of police enforcement, so these cops can be accountable and sued for their criminality and lose their pension. But as long as they keep enjoying immunity, it is, like I said, James Bond, license to kill without repercussion. So I hope that our congressional leaders develop some sort of consciousness and see the pain that they are inflicting upon the masses and begin a process of internal transformation so we can truly enjoy democracy and restore the credibility of this nation, because we are looking bad, not only here, but worldwide. So I thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts.
And I'm thankful for those thoughts. And I like the fact we're leaving on a somewhat hopeful note.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Roland.
All right, thank you.